Yo, what is up everyone? Back here with another video. Today we're going to be doing a bit of a team report on the team that we had used to actually cut and get to finals of the most recent wild area tournament. It was a money tournament, had a decent amount of players in it for BDSP VGC, so wanted to go over it. It's also a team that I think has some merit within Battle Tower as well, because it has some common combinations. It actually might work a little bit better even, because you have setup spam and screens, right? So you can kind of just abuse that in the battle tower because there's not too much things that you can do versus it. Pretty much the belly drum Azu is kind of cracked, right? So you're able to do a lot with it, but it's also good in VGC, which is nice. So pretty much this team was built around the core of Azumarill, Heatran, Tangrowth, and Salamence. So basically I wanted a Fire, Water, Grass core and a Dragon, Fairy, Steel core all in one, and then kind of having complementary partners to go along with those, right? And having that coverage split between those four Pokemon is actually really crazy because the amount of coverage and things you can do with it's actually wild, right? And then beyond that, they're also all Pokemon with pretty strong stats. I think Salamence is actually pretty underrated, but I'm going to be going through the mons one by one, kind of talking about what they do. And yeah, and then we'll have all that stuff. The page should be in the description down below, and also too, I will show it on the screen briefly at the end, so make sure to check that out. And if you guys are interested in supporting these videos, make sure to check out the Patreon down below. But yeah, so Salamence basically was a really good Pokemon on this team. Pretty much you're able to spam those Intimidates. You have a ground immune for Heatran, which is really nice. Pretty much able to swap into ground moves that Heatran otherwise wouldn't have liked to take. And then you have a Life Orb boosted Dragon Claw, Earthquake, Fire Fang, and then you have Protect, right? So pretty much Life Orb Dragon Claw actually does so much damage in this format. It lets you snipe stuff like Garchomp, which otherwise is kind of annoying for this team. It also just has really strong damage into stuff like Hitmontop, where Hitmontop's gonna close combat, lower its own defense, and you can actually just snipe it from near full with Dragon Claw, which is kind of crazy. Also, Life Orb Earthquake is really strong because you get the ability to hit opposing Raiku, other fire types, and a couple of other things. So it's just a super nice option. Something definitely worth utilizing, right? The nice thing too is that with Earthquake as well, the reason why Tangrowth is part of this team is because you can use Tangrowth next to the Ments, right? So basically, you could swap in Tangrowth, click Earthquake, or you could even just Protect with any of your partners and click Earthquake, besides being Raiku. So that's kind of the synergy there. I did want to have some kind of ground coverage besides our own Heatran so that we could hit opposing Heatran, so it worked out pretty nicely. Heatran is pretty straightforward. It's Shuka Berry. Shuka Berry is essential on Heatran in my opinion. I think its moveset's also pretty straightforward. I think you always need Fire, Steel, Ground, and Protect. So basically Heat Wave, Flash Cannon, Earth Power, Protect. Basically this is just so you could get the most out of it offensively. Shuka Berry lets it stay in the field in front of Gastrodon. I think substitute Heatran with leftovers is really bad, and even not lefties. Shuka Berry sub is still really trash. I would recommend using Shuka Berry. You just get the most out of Heatran. You're able to do a bunch of damage. You're able to sit on the field. You don't really have turns in this format to be passive with Heatran and get up a substitute. Also, you can just get Snarl spammed, right? So, not super great. Next up, Tyranitar. Again, standard Tyranitar. I have a video talking about Tyranitar if you guys are interested in that, where I talk about its most common set. But if you guys are interested in that, make sure to check that out. Pretty much, Tyranitar, Rock Slide, Dragon Dance, Crunch, Protect, standard coverage, able to do a lot in terms of exerting offensive pressure, pinning Cresselias that are otherwise annoying. It just kind of gives you a lot to do, right? Pretty much to be offensive versus. So I feel like at that point, you're pretty it's a pretty safe pick, right? And you have weather control with it as well, which helps versus rain, so it's just a super nice option. But yeah. Then Azumarill. Azumarill is pretty straightforward. I actually have a video on Azumarill that's right before this video. I was talking about it specifically, and I was talking specifically about the core of Azumarill, Heatran, and Salamence and why they work so well together. So definitely make sure to check that out if you guys are curious about it. But pretty much, Azumarill on this team was really good. It has belly drum pressure. I find myself rarely... I don't think I clicked it a single time, actually. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I didn't click it a single time during the tournament. I actually had only clicked Play Rough and Aqua Jet the whole time, and it was really helpful. I mean, Belly Drum was nice because I still exerted extra pressure if I needed to. I think it's better in open team sheet with Belly Drum, but I think in closed sheet, if you're using something like Substitute or Waterfall, it's actually better. But yeah, On this team, because you know, obviously it's partially for VGC but also for Battle Tower. If you're using Battle Tower, always run Belly Drum. The AI aren't smart enough to stop you from Belly Drumming. If it's VGC, then you can maybe consider running a different item depending on whether it's closed sheet or open. Next up, Tangrowth. Tangrowth is a super good option, redirection option. It gives you something really good to deal with Gastrodon. I find that on all my teams, I like having a dedicated Mon that can deal with Gastrodon while also performing another role in the team, and nothing really does that better than Tangrowth. Tangrowth is really, really good. Akaberry also allows it to stay in front of a bunch of hits. This Tangrowth is also more specially invested so that it can take special hits better. Typically, that's its weakness, but with the investment, everything, it should work out perfectly fine. I'm also going to move this Heatran because it's been like bothering me on the graphic. But yeah, and then Raiku is the final option. Raiku basically being able to set screens for the team, make it a little bit bulkier, and it's a really nice check for rain. So just works out super well. That's kind of the general idea of the team on a more like straightforward idea of like how it functions. So hopefully that makes sense. Also too, now I want to talk about the common pairs. The common pairs, this team is very flexible. You can pretty much lead anything with anything as long as it's appropriate for the matchup. That's one of the nicer things about it. You have a lot of flexibility with the team, but the main thing that I actually really enjoy about this team that I want to discuss is pretty much, I think Raiku Tangrowth is a really, I'm going to go through the pairs one by one. I'm doing it out of order, but like I'll be talking about them each. So with Raiku and Tangrowth, pretty much it's the ultimate lead to shut down Rain. So you have redirection, which ruins any other things that Rain can lead besides Scissor, right? But even into Scissor, you can just bring out Heatran, and that's kind of useless. Set screens immediately, go for Snarl, click Giga Drain into Politoed or Giga Drain and Ludicolo chunk it, sleep powders into the non-Ludicolo slot to just really slow it down with status, and it could just be super disruptive in combination with Tyranitar and then Heatran, right? And it works out really well. I really actually like how it performs as a whole. And even into your rain mode, sometimes you don't even need Raiku, but for the most part, Raiku is like the best option, right? Also, side note, completely unrelated to the pair. I think Raiku and Azumarill look so cool together because they have like the matching yellow, but that's besides the point. But yeah, pretty much this lead is just really good shutting down. You have access to Rage Powder, Snarl, Thunderbolt, and Giga Drain. Even if you wanted to be a little more aggressive, Snarl, Giga Drain. Like, there's so much you have to shut down things. And because this is a more specially invested Tangrowth, meant to take special hits, you're pretty much able to just sit in front of whatever you want, and it's not an issue at all. Then, if we go over to Salamence and Heatran, so this is very matchup specific. However, Salamence gives you a great way to pin Garchomp, which is Heatran's main weakness, and then you're able to pretty much click Heat Wave or Flash Cannon into anything that Salamence is weak to. The reason why this is nice as well is because you can swap out Salamence immediately into something else in the back. Basically baiting out a move in the Salamence, specifically like something like an Ice move or a Dragon move. You can go straight into Azumarill, take the hit, and then just deal some damage with Heatran onto whatever, right? The nice thing with this lead too as well is it kind of goes vice versa. You can always protect men swap, or you can always attack with men's and swap. It basically just covers your bases and lets you lead well into multiple things, or like have a flexible lead that can deal with both situations. So it's super nice. Definitely something worth leading with the team in certain situations. Final lead, again, similar to the last team that we had talked about, Tyranitar Heatran. So this lead's very good for immediate spread move spam, pretty much like dealing out that pressure immediately. I actually led this a couple times in a tournament, primarily into Mamoswine Crobat. Now, that might sound weird, because Mamoswine obviously just Earthquakes and Crobat clicks Tailwind, but basically what you're doing, because you have Shuka Berry and you have like a Tyranitar, you get Earthquaked, but you immediately trade the Crobat and the Mamoswine from their end. Because you click Rock Slide, you click Heat Wave, it kills both on their end. And then they basically lose the game because you have 4 mons up on them. And if you have like a defensive pivot in the back or something that deals with what they have in the back, you have a lot more flexibility to kind of win the game. So, and you can solve Tailwind turns by just like double protecting next turn or something. So it's a really good lead. And then into other matchups, sometimes they're just really weak to spread move spamming. You just want to click like Rock Slide, Heat Wave, and like run through the whole team. It's just really nice coverage. And when led together, they can exert a lot of pressure. It's definitely something I respect a lot with this team, and I think is really cool. But yeah, and also in the Battle Tower too, that's probably really good as well, because unless you're leading into a ground type, you can pretty much just spam Heat Wave, Rock Slide, and everything and get quick wins. So kind of works out well. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the team itself, kind of going over it. I'm going to go show the pace quickly and give you guys my final thoughts on it. And then, yeah, that'll pretty much be it. I try to keep these in kind of not too complicated, complex videos, just so you guys kind of have it in, like, kind of have an idea of how to use it, but not stretch out too much to where it's like, you know, overpowering the video, I guess, where it's like too much information. But yeah, pretty much if you look over here, ignore that. I'm listening to some music. That's why it just popped up over there. But yeah, Azumarill pretty much over there, as we mentioned. It's Aqua Jet, Play Rough, Belly Drum, Protect. This is really good, especially for my Battle Tower people that are stopping by here. It's basically instant setup. You're pretty much able to set Belly Drum immediately. You're able to go for Play Roughs. You're able to go for Aqua Jets. It's just super nice. If you're not and you're playing VGC, you can kind of take advantage of the fact that your opponent wants to stop the Belly Drum setup and just attack instead. And that usually works like 90% of the time. So it's a really nice option there. For Tangrowth, Tangrowth is obviously very specially defensive. This is good because Tangrowth doesn't really have the greatest special defense. It already has a really high HP stat, and it has a high defense stat. So it's pretty much able to already take defensive hits pretty well with the maxed out HP, and it's taking special defense hits to the best of its capability, with Akaberry compensating for the fire moves going into it. Salamence, obviously, Life Orb, able to do a bunch of damage. Life Orb, it is optimized to take less chip from Life Orb, so that is good. And also to still enough attack investment to be dealing some damage. A little bit of bulk to kind of keep you alive from like kind of basic hits on swapping, but for the most part, very focused on offense. Tyranitar, pretty much straight offense. There is a little bit of HP investment, so it can take hits a little bit better, but for the most part, it is very attack focused. Lumberry, obviously preventing you from getting burned, slept, and all that stuff. Raiku screens, pretty straightforward. Actually, these EVs in Raiku are really important because you're able to live a lot of physical attackers that you otherwise wouldn't. I know the common spread is 252 in HP and 252 in speed. I think that's really inefficient, and this spread lets you capitalize a little bit more on Raiku's bulk, but also giving you enough offense to where you're actually dealing damage. And then finally, Heatran. Heatran's pretty much straight offensive, has as much offensive investment as possible, with the speed only being there to potentially outspeed other Heatrans that aren't that invested. But for the most part, pretty straightforward. But yeah. Once again, guys, thank you for all the support on the videos. If you guys have any other questions about the team, feel free to leave it in the comments. And that's pretty much it, guys. So once again, thank you for the support on all the videos. Appreciate it. And I will see you guys on the next video. Peace.